Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again, guys, for another episode of our preview series. We're doing these at a ridiculous rate of knots at the moment because we keep getting fixtures to play every other day, which means, of course, we've got to look ahead to the next, which is this Saturday against Aston Villa. Trying to react to yesterday's disappointing defeat to Liverpool, but there's plenty to discuss and plenty of team news and predictions to discuss as well with my fantastic guests, as always, coming from our members Discord. So first of all, I'm joined by Tariq. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
I'm good, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. As always, mate. Anything mad going on in the world right now? I know your channel's going pretty well, so see.
Well, Arsenal lost the game. I think that's mad enough, isn't it, really, with the form we've been in? But yeah. That's it, really.
Absolutely. It's nice that that's a change from it being the norm, that's for sure. We're also joined by Bobby. How you doing, Bobby? You good?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you, Tom.
Good stuff, man. Good to have you back on the show again. Second appearance, and in there quick to see it. And Alex making up the team as well. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, Tom. Good to be on.
Good stuff. Yeah, plenty to talk about. I mean, Tariq, as you were there a second ago, the main kind of bulk of the discussion has been about how Arsenal are going to react to the defeat. Are you confident from what you've seen from Arsenal this and that we will back strongly, or is there a concern for you that not only the defeat and the impact on the mental state, so the close proximity to this fixture and how we can recover from the Liverpool game affect us?
With how we've bounced back from defeats previously, like how we did against Liverpool when we initially played them at Anfield, it's given me a lot more confidence to go forward now. I know as Arsenal fans, what we've seen previously is when we go on a defeat, it seems to like build up in a snowball effect and really crash and burn for our season. But with this side, I've got fresh hope, fresh in, I think probably the refresh of the squad and how well we've done this season is probably a big factor in that. So yeah, and then we've got proof already. We've seen it this season how we can bounce back and improve and kick on really. And having this short space of time between the games is probably a positive in the squad, and Mikel Arteta will be looking at it in this way. So I think we will.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think, it's always difficult to come back after a defeat, especially when you've been winning so much. You've kind of broken out of that rut of the horrible feelings of losing and drawing points. But Arsenal have done that so often this season. I mean, Bobby, how are you feeling about how Arsenal react after the defeat yesterday evening?
There's no reason that we should have our heads dropped at all last night. I was so impressed, as I mentioned to Tariq last night, the stats from the game. We were actually the better team, really. And if we had a clinical finisher, I think it would be a different result.
Do you look moment that he kind of, the moment where Thiago played that loose pass, Aston came out to close Lacazette down? I feel like in a moment, a better striker either dinks that keeper or is quicker to take it round Alisson and can finish it off, or, is more their surroundings, a quicker pass to a teammate to maybe score. And you did get that feeling that maybe Arsenal had that killer instinct up top. We could have even taken the lead into the second half for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
100%. Alex, when we're looking ahead to a game like that, though, there are easier games to try and recover your form into, and there are going to be no pushovers, and they got a motivation because we've kind of built up this narrative between ourselves, Villa, with all of the Emi Buendia stuff famously, and the Emil's Rowe bids that came into everyone's annoyance on social media over the summer. Do you think there is a bit of bad blood between the clubs, or is people making too much of it?
I think there's going to be a little bit, but I think a lot of footballers claim to have long memories about things like that. I think you can see it, but I don't know if that's a thing of the past in one way or another. More with like the, Patrick Vieira, Roy Keane, that sort of thing. But I don't think you really get those rivalries in the same way anymore. However, my family are all from Birmingham, so. And they're all Birmingham City fans. So if I didn't,
they're on our side.
Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of Villa, yeah. So I don't know. I think we need to put those out of our mind because we do have a young team who are capable of making errors, and some of the more experienced players, of course, we know there's a few who are capable of making errors on their day, but I think we just need to play the game how we know how, like the other guys have all said, and pretty much everybody has said, we don't have nothing to be ashamed of last night. I think it was a very good performance, and it was just about the moments in the game where we just didn't quite get the rub of the green, or we weren't quite clinical enough. Maybe if Lacazette had got that touch on that Martinelli pass, things like that. But I think it's it's going to be a really it's going to be a tough game. Like, I don't think we can become complacent at all. And they've had a little bit of a lease of life with Steven Gerrard coming in. So, we'll just have to see what happens. But I'm hoping for a win, for a bounce back.
Absolutely. Let's jump quickly into the chat box to see what you guys are saying. Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing good and well, wherever you happen to be listening to us from. Please do drop a like and subscribe as always. Some bloke says, I think this team is comfortable knowing where they are in the cycle of progression. Marcus says, last night proved good as he is. Hold up, Laka has to go now. He should have scored and not passed. Iron Cub says, let's continue. Didn't read what Arsenal fans are saying about him in the summer when he went linked. That might cause a little bit of a motivation for him. Ed saying dance for a Millsborough to see what could have been at Villa. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the crowd reaction to Will Smith Rowe when we go there. And Luke saying, proud of how we performed last night. And obviously we didn't get any from it, but it did show that to go to the next step, we need to go and get a striker in the summer. Now, one of the strikers that we've been linked to is, of course, at Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins, Tariq, is a hell of a threat for Villa. And I mean, since Danny Ings came in, his position in the team a little bit unquestioned. And maybe he hasn't performed as well this season as he did last year when he broke into his first Premier League season. But are they the main threats that you look at, Ings and Watkins, or are you look beyond that to the likes of Coutinho and Emi Buendia, etc., and Ramsey as well, a really good season here too? Do you look at them as a team that can really hurt us, or are you expecting our defence to be able to match them man for man?
With Aston Villa, they do have a plethora of options, like you said. Not just with Ollie Watkins. They've got, 2 goal scorers now in Watkins and Ings. Ollie Watkins is a real threat up front, and he works extremely hard. And you can probably see him fitting in this current Arsenal side from what Arteta wants from a striker. Also an Arsenal fan as well, growing up, Ollie Watkins. So, yeah, I'm sure he'd like a move there. But with Aston Villa, as you said, Coutinho, who's been on tremendous form of late, he's going to be a huge threat. Now he's feeling somewhere where he's loved. Steven Gerrard's come out and said that, and he's comfortable in that side. He has that free reign. Of course, we're going to have Emi Buendia, who, if he's going to have the chip on his shoulder in a way, he's got a point to prove. I'm sure he would have preferred to come to the Arsenal rather than Villa if the option was on the table, well and truly. So it's going to be interesting. As you said, Jacob Ramsey, he's come into the side a lot this season and really stamped his authority, scored a wonderful goal against us in our 3-1 win at the Emirates. But yeah, he scored a few beauties. So there's some troubles going forward that we're going to have to marshal and hope that we can, and I'm sure I'm positive that we will, in terms of how we set up structurally. We managed to do it with much bigger threats last night. I know the result didn't end up telling, but for the majority of the game, I don't see these players having that level of finishing. And if we can have that and the pressure surrounding that game yesterday, I think we'll be okay and manage those threats in particular.
Vinny, very blunt chat box, but good enough for Arsenal. So, yeah, don't go watch back my video I didn't about him, because I certainly wouldn't have agreed with you back then. Bobby, how impressed have you been about Gerrard and what he's since taken over Villa? Do you see him as a potential Premier League kind of up there man like Mikel Arteta and the other young coaches in the league at the moment, or think that there's a bit of a false dawn going on at Villa? It's a really difficult club to try and predict what will happen, because their ambitions are very lofty and they've got very rich owners now as well that seem to want to invest. But it's difficult to kind of know where they'll go under Gerrard.
See, I followed Gerrard since he took over from Rangers, because he's one of those players that I wish played for Arsenal. He's just one of those. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but Gerrard.
No, it's not.
In the Arsenal.
You take a world-class midfielder at Arsenal, absolutely, of course, yeah.
It's just, it's the Liverpool Arsenal thing, but for me, I would have had Gerrard at Arsenal any day. So I followed him because I wanted to see how he got on, and he did really well. He brought some good players in. Harji was the main one for me. His dad was famous, and I watched him when I was young as well. So to see what he did at Rangers was amazing. But then when he went to Villa, I was shocked because I thought he'd take Rangers a little bit further before he left. What he's done at Villa, I've been impressed with. But they seem to have these moments of, I wouldn't even say they're Arteta moments. They just seem to lose it. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
I hope it happens Saturday as well. But they just, I don't know. I don't think it's him. I think it's his players. Brendia was never a good signing. I didn't like him. He was at Norwich. You know, that's about all I can say about Brendia. He was just at Norwich. But
Argentina as well, Bobby. Come on, he's an Argentinian international.
No, he does. He's never done it for me. I've always just thought he's just flair, and that's it. There's nothing more to him for me. But Jacob Ramsey's the only one that I would definitely have right now from Villa. I'd go on the metro right now and go and pick him up from Birmingham. And do you know what I mean? I'll just go and get him right now. He's the only player that I actually would want from Villa right now. But he's done really well. I'm impressed. And he's definitely going to be someone that I reckon will end up at Liverpool at some point in his career. As manager.
Look, I know what you mean. I don't want him to succeed if it's at Liverpool for obvious reasons, but I absolutely understand where you're coming from. And I don't think anyone was going to argue too much about the idea of Steven Gerrard playing for Arsenal back in the day when he was at the peak of his powers either. Him or Alexander Hleb, it's a tough choice between the two of them. Alex, when we look at kind of the other people within that Villa team, you know, there are players in that back line that have had their own links and their own battles with Arsenal in the past. You think about when Arsenal were playing Everton and Luca Digne being a very big threat for them too. And I'm not sure whether or not he's going to be fit or not, because there's a few questions about kind of his fitness in the team as well. But they've got other players, including a certain Callum Chambers at the club, which he scored an absolute banger for them the other day. And and also, to be fair, an assist as well for Coutinho, or not a key pass, a pre-assist, if you want to call them as a term, which is a great pass across for Coutinho's goal in the end. But what have you made of that move? Do you think that maybe Arsenal were a little bit silly letting him go for however little amount of money we got for him with just 6 months remaining of the season?
No. To be honest, I think you know he wants to get rid of players. He wants to get rid of the players that he has no interest. Arteta, wants to get rid of the players he has no interest in keeping. And yeah, I mean, you could definitely argue we could have got higher fees for a lot of these players, but I think.
Do you think Cedric's justified that decision?
On the money he's on, and for the fact that as sort of watchers of when I've been on a podcast will know, I'm not the biggest fan of Cedric. So
Alex has notoriously never used our emoji for Cedric in the chat box once.
No, I have not. But I think it's difficult because, you know, he's been in the Premier League for a long time, Cedric, and he was put on a high contract to reflect that, or a relatively high wage to reflect that. But I think with regards to Callum Chambers, I think we wanted to split off from a number of these players and get rid of their contracts so we can look at improving in the summer. And you know, obviously, we thought maybe in January, but I'm quite happy to wait for the right players to come along because I don't see it as something that's going to be fixed straight away. And, you know, Liverpool was a great test of seeing where we're at. And, you know, hopefully that's shown to the owners that they need to continue to invest because that's, you know, it's definitely, you'd have to be pretty thick to not see that there's been an improvement. But I think you know, even if you don't have an interest in football, you could see that there's been an improvement. So, I'm just hoping that, that none of them come back to bite us anytime soon. I mean, we're not going to be seeing Villa in the Champions League anytime soon. So that's
yeah, we say that. They've got lofty ambitions, and look, they're a club that want to go places. They're looking at Arsenal as the team that they kind of wanted to usurp. And last season, when we finished 8th, we're certainly seeing as a bit of probably one of the little gazelles that have broken away from the pack that the Lions are about to jump on. But I mean, thankfully, we've managed to, catch up with the pride, and fingers crossed that we're going to go ahead of that and take ourselves forward into the Champions League this season. Speaking of which, let's see what our guys have predicted, or rather desired, with our team lineups looking into how we might tackle this game. Tariq, we start with you. Talk us through your selection, mate.
So yeah, as you can see on the panel, we've got a lot of people, have close connections with Villa. And you know what, Arsenal fans as a general, we definitely felt the full brunt of Villa fans and their arrogance across the summer. So yeah, I've been having that for years. This is why I don't like Aston Villa. So I've gone with the strong side, as you can see. Cedric, I'm keeping everyone the same apart from Emile Smith-Rowe. I'm bringing him in for Martinelli. And a big reason for that is because we know how well Martinelli was yesterday and how much of a constant threat he was against Alexander-Arnold yesterday. Alexander-Arnold gets a lot of criticism for his defensive 1v1 battles a lot of the time, but when he usually loses, they're to top quality players. So I think I'm going to bring Smith-Rowe in, who was unlucky to be out of the side because of illness, and then he's come back in, and when he did come back in from his injury, he scored against Brentford, of course. So I just think with Smith-Rowe at this moment in time, he is a bit more refined than what Martinelli is. And I think what he will give us is an added goal threat, where we know with Lacazette how well he is at providing that link-up play. We will really work well cohesively in a way where we can, see the likes of Smith-Rowe link up with Xhaka. I think we'll get the best of Tierney as well when Smith-Rowe's down on that left side. So I think that's what my big reason for going with Emile Smith-Rowe. Guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think that's the decision? Do you think I'm right in thinking that way?
Well, I mean, Bobby, you've also gone for Smith-Rowe. So, I mean, do you think that's the right choice to go and swap Martinelli out and give him a rest after his kind of 90 minutes against Liverpool?
See, the thing with Smith-Rowe and Martinelli, it's like having the choice between Henry and Ian Wright. It's not going to be much of a change.
That's some high praise.
Well, it is.
Very high praise.
I had the luxury of seeing Ian Wright break Cliff Bastin's record. Oh, hang on, sorry, my phone's going off for some reason.
That's right. He's got an absolute blinder of video going off in the background.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but my YouTube just plays off in the background on my phone for some reason. But you just couldn't choose between Henry and Wright, and that's the same with Smith-Rowe and Martinelli. I just couldn't choose. I reckon Arteta literally just closes his eyes and just spins around and just goes, "It's you today."
You really think it's that? You really it's like a complete raffle?
I
surprised. I was like, really?
I just couldn't choose between them. I think it's time for Smith-Rowe, because if he keeps sitting on the bench, I don't want him getting itchy bum time. Do you know where he's considering his future? I don't want him ever having that time. So he needs to come in now, just to, so he knows that he love him.
I think his bumper contract is a big sign of that. But I know what you mean. I want to see Smith-Rowe, I want to see Martinelli, I want to see Odegaard and Saka, and all of our talents. It's so hard to get them all into the same team these days. Alex, you've given it your best shot, and obviously brought in Saka instead. You went for him over Pepe, which Tariq and both Bobby didn't do. Why have you gone with Saka?
Well, I think the issue obviously is that he's, seems maybe a little bit tired. I don't know. But to me, I think the continuity in the team, obviously I've put Smith-Rowe in, but but I think the continuity of Saka and trying to get him those goals and assists and keep getting them up, I just think and we haven't got, I hope I'm not wrong in saying this, but we haven't got a midweek game this week.
You're not wrong. It's the international break.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just, if he seems tired or unfit, we can always take him off. But I think what he adds to the team is just irreplaceable at this current point in time. And as much as I think Pepe had that game coming back where he played really well, and he's looked, he's had some good bits of play when he's come off the bench. But I still don't necessarily see him as being good enough to overtake Saka. And as for Smith Rowe, in long term, I don't necessarily see him being like a left winger. I don't think he'll play there. But at this time, obviously he's getting goals, and I think he might move into a sort of more advanced midfield role as opposed to a wing role. I think he's just got to, get that more defensive awareness in maybe before he's going into the midfield. But I think him and Tierney work better than Martinelli and Tierney.
Yeah, you are right.
Martinelli, I mean, we've talked about this before, I know, but Martinelli holds so much width, and he gets all his joy being isolated against a player. And Smith Rowe is just as good. He's a very good dribbler, probably one of the best in the team, if not the best. But he likes to play a bit more inside, because I think it's where he feels comfortable, having played number 10 for quite a significant period of his career. And then I've put Tomiyasu in because I just hope that he's fit, because
I'm the same.
So we don't have to play Cedric.
I think that's harsh. I think he's done well. I think Cedric's done really well, to be honest, Alex. Sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and be like, look, I don't like him, but he's done well. He's done well. And, he's playing for 6 games now.
I'm not saying he's been bad, but I think that there's a warped view of what's good in the Arsenal team. Like when Holding has a really good game against Mane, like whether at some point during, I'm going to call it the COVID period because I can't remember exactly when it was. But yeah, when Rob Holding had a great game against Mane, everyone was like, oh, maybe he's the future. And it sort of gets me to that thing where Cedric has a game where he doesn't make any glaring errors, and everybody sort of thinks, oh, he's good. And I'm not saying he's not a good footballer, but he can't replace anything that Tomiyasu does, and he doesn't come close to doing it.
And to be fair, with Cedric last season against these, he made that massive error in the opening minute. He was playing in left back in that game, I think.
Right, yeah.
And that eventually cost us the game, didn't it? So
yeah, to be fair, we should have had a red card for Konsa, I think it was, and a penalty against Lacazette and Emi Martinez in that game. We were very unfortunate, annoyingly, and fingers crossed we can get one over them, because we do need to do the double after they did it over us last season. I'm very similar to you guys. The only difference, I mean, I've kept Martinelli in. I thought he was our best player against Liverpool. I think he's like a Duracell bunny. I think he can just carry on all day long. Our Western listeners won't have a clue what I'm talking about with that analogy, I don't think, but the adverts over here certainly will make sense to a lot of people. He just goes and goes. And look, if he's not 100% fit and he is tiring, we can bring Smith Rowe off the bench if we need to. And I think there's an element that, he's going to be motivated as well to try and get the goals. And I think Martinelli will desperately want to get a goal after his performance wasn't rewarded with one last night. Tomiyasu again is in there because it's willing that into existence. He was in training ahead of the Liverpool game. He is being integrated back into the squad. And if he is fit and if he is available, I don't think it's rushing him back at all. I think there is a point where they will be able to judge whether or not he's fit. And if he plays, it's because they would have judged whether or not they feel he is fit enough for the team. And it's also another fit player that's not played on Wednesday available to be brought in too. Zamir says, we have Duracell in the US. I get that, but I don't know if you get the Duracell bunny adverts. I don't know if it's the same. I know the adverts change all over the world. So if the analogy works, it works. So fingers crossed it has done. Let's wrap up the show with predictions. We go in reverse order. Alex, we start with you. Scoreline and scorers, please. Chat box, get involved too, of course.
I'm going to go for 3-0 Arsenal.
Wow.
Going to go for Smith Rowe, Saka, and a customary Ramsdale header, as I do most of the time in coming up from a corner. And yeah, I know you hate it, but I'm going to keep doing it.
I do hate it. I just can't get my head around it. I really. Go on. So 3-1 Ramsdale. Who's the others?
3-0. Ramsdale, Saka, Smith Rowe, I reckon.
Lovely stuff. Bobby.
3-2 to Arsenal.
Oh, you've got to name 5 scorers now, so good luck with that.
Damn it. To please Vinny, I'm going to say Xhaka.
Nice. He will enjoy that.
Smith Rowe and Pepe. And then for Villa, I think it'll be Watkins and Ings. I think them two are going to give us a bit of a pain. To be honest.
They used a full 4-1-2-1-2 formation the other day against West Ham. I'm interested to see if they use that again with Coutinho playing behind those two. We'll see. But there's no space for Remy Buendia in that team if they do, for sure. Tariq, finish us off.
I'm going to go with 3-1 to Arsenal. So right in the middle between Alex and Bobby right there. And I was saying this before literally the game before we played Aston Villa, that Thomas Partey would score. And I was saying that every week. And there's probably more chance of Ramsdale scoring before that point. So I don't think Partey was scoring this one two in a week. That would be crazy. I'm going to go with Lacazette. I'm going to go Lacazette to score the first one. I'm going to go with Cedric to score. You know, if we're going to go on that route. Yeah, we're going to go with Cedric. And one more, Gabriel with a header. And then for Villa, I think Leon Bailey will score.
Oh, coming off the bench, getting a consolation maybe at the end.
Exactly.
I agree with you. I was going to go for 3-1, so I'll go 3-1 as well. Same scoreline that we, of course, beat them with at the Emirates earlier in the campaign. I think Jacob Ramsey is probably going to get the goal for Villa, and our scorers will end up being... I'm going to go with Lacazette as well. I think it's important that he gets on the score sheet. We need to make sure that he does. And also, would love to see Martinelli get a couple of goals too. So I do suppose we've got to do the customary TGT Partey prediction for the long ranger. Just it needs to happen at some point. So hopefully it's in this game. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box. We've got ML Reaction who says 3-1 Arsenal, agreeing with myself and Tariq here. Matthew going for a 2-2. Willich is going for a 1-1. Vinny going for a 3-1 Arsenal, Gabriel Saka and Lacazette. Vladimir 2-0 Arsenal. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. That'd be very, very welcome. Marcus going for a 1-1. Smith Rowe late equaliser. The Sox guy says 2-0. I'm hoping that's to the Arsenal. Omar going for a 2-1 Arsenal. We need a response at the perfectly reasonable kickoff time of 3:30. Yeah, 3:30, depending somewhere in the world, it'll be 3:30, but annoyingly, it's 12:30 for our time. Elmo going for a 2-0 Arsenal, Martinelli double. Paul James going for a 2-0 Arsenal win. David for a 3-0. The Bones he. I don't know how to pronounce it. The Boneshi. We're going to go for that. 2-1 Arsenal. Smith Rowe and Saka on the score sheet. Joining us on Twitch there. Yeah, we do stream these on Twitch, surprising or not. Dan Robert 4-0. Leno quadruple. Yeah, Dan. I mean, Alex is taking things far with Ramsdale, but this is different level. This is Harvey 4-0. Moscow for a 2-1 Arsenal. Smith Rowe and Laka. Watkins as well. Omar going for a 6-0 and Samir going for a 4-2. But Coutinho is going for an own goal hat trick from Schrodinger's cat flap, which would be so nice. And quite hilarious. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Tariq, thank you so much for coming on the show, mate. Give yourself a shout out and your channel as well, of course, and where people can find you.
I really appreciate it, Tom. Thank you for creating such a wonderful community, and big up everyone in the chat and the panel as always. You can come find me at Tariq Talks. I will be doing a watch along for this game on Saturday here in the UK. And yeah, you can come and check out the channel. There's more than just Arsenal. I leave the legends like Tom to sort that out. Just all focus on Arsenal, but we can take our minds off of it and look at other teams and how the rivals are doing in the Champions League. And we've got plenty of content coming during the international break. Also, thanks again, Tom.
Lovely stuff. If you're watching this post-show, you'll be able to find a link to Tariq's channel in the description. Bobby, thank you so much for coming on, mate. As always, tell people where they can find you.
Thanks, Tom. I'm just in the Discord and I just keep doing quizzes for everybody in this. Keep them entertained.
I think people enjoy the quizzes. There's nothing wrong with them. Over the what's it called? The lockdown, quizzes became the go-to. So it's like breathing for most people these days. No, thanks, mate. Appreciate your time. Alex, thank you as always, mate. Tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on the Discord server. It's an amazing community again, so I'd encourage anyone who hasn't to join, and of course smash the like and subscribe. That's your bit, but I've taken it this week.
No, absolutely. I can echo those words. The Discord server is brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone that's in there. And it was great to meet a few of the members last night at the game. Thank you for coming up and saying hello. It's great to put faces to names in the Discord, and fingers crossed we can get a result tomorrow. Do drop a like on the video, as Alex has instructed you to. But other than that, it's been a pleasure to speak to you as always. And as always, up the Arsenal.